Hello and welcome back. If you are new, thank you so much for joining us. We're thankful to have you. My name is Venus Green, and today we're going to be diving into the astrology for May 2025. So let me tell you first that the energy of the month is kind of bursting at the seams. So if you felt like in April you had this stirring, maybe the beginnings of a flicker of a fire coming up inside you, May is probably going to feel like the month where your soul's going to be demanding some action for you, right? And not just any action either. It wants aligned, true to you moves that plant real roots in your life. Well, spiritually, this month is going to be teaching us that manifesting dreams isn't just about holding a vision or having a vision. It's about taking those brave steps that honor your highest self. Sometimes the actions that we need to take feel a little bit scary at first, but it's actually the universe really inviting us to step into our own power. Practically speaking, then, May is full of opportunity. Now, we will have some fated meetings happening for some of us. There's probably going to be some surprising twists, either in finances or career for some of us. Also, probably some emotional breakthroughs that'll be happening under that Scorpio full moon. And then we're going to have some fresh but also exciting conversations because the Sun and Mercury are going to be moving into Gemini. Well, there's a beautiful opening here this month, but it's also a reminder that the universe moves when we move. So this is going to be a month to definitely listen closely. Pay attention to the invitations, to any sudden doors that may be opening for you. And any inner voices, right? Anything that's saying, hey, it's time, let's get going. That's what you're going to want to listen to. So let's take a closer look at the key energies that you'll be working with this month from the collective overview. Now, it's important to watch the collective overview first because it's going to give you that big picture context for the transits that are happening this month, right? It's intended to help you understand why your rising sign horoscope is playing out the way that it is. So it's kind of like reading the map before you start getting into the detail of your own personal directions, if you will. So I encourage you to start with the collective overview, then move to your rising sign, and then of course, if they resonate, your sun and moon signs as well. Well, May is going to kick off with some really beautiful cosmic invitations for us, but there's also a few turning points that are going to require your courage and probably discernment. So we're going to walk through the key dates that you'll want to have on your radar or possibly on your calendar this month. The month is going to open with the North Node in Pisces, and then it'll be sextile Uranus in Taurus. So this is going to be creating opportunities for some fated shifts around things like our values, finances, probably some emotional healing for some of us. You might also experience some sudden insights into what it is that truly matters to you, what is most important. Some of us might find ourselves unexpectedly letting go of something that you really thought you needed. Now, on the 2nd of May, Venus is going to meet Neptune in Aries. Well, this will be stirring up some dreams around love, creativity, and really some soul level connections. This is a really beautiful energy for artists, for lovers, for really anyone who's looking to reconnect with their spiritual truth or their spiritual path. It is important to stay grounded, right? So that's a Neptune warning because Neptune can sometimes blur the lines between our fantasy and our reality. Pluto is going to station retrograde in Aquarius on May 4th. So here we might see power structures, maybe some collective movements, or maybe just our own inner evolution that's sort of going under review at this time. Pluto moves very slowly. He's forward for about half of the year, and then he's retrograde for about the other half of the year. So you might feel really called to reflect upon your role within a larger group or groups that you're involved in. You might also be reconsidering your relationship to the balance of control and freedom. All right, on May 5th and 6th, then we'll have Mercury sextiling Jupiter in Gemini. We'll also have Venus sextiling Pluto. Well, this is going to be making an amazing window here for some bold conversations, possibly, potentially some lucky meetings to happen, just some overall magnetic opportunities here. Now, if you have been waiting to pitch an idea to someone, maybe you've been waiting to apply for something, maybe you have been wanting or waiting to introduce yourself to someone, maybe someone important, maybe someone influential, then these are going to be really golden days to do that. Mercury is going to enter Taurus on May 10th. So this is going to slow down the communication, right? It's going to become more deliberate. People are going to be wanting proof, they're going to want practicality, and they're going to be looking for real value. So be thoughtful about your words and your choices. We are going to have a powerful full moon in Scorpio at 22 degrees on the 12th of May. Now, full moons are moments of culmination and release. And in Scorpio, it demands some emotional truth. So you can expect some revelations around the topics of intimacy, around shared resources, around trust and personal transformation. And this could be a deeply emotional moment for many of us, but it's also a gateway to deeper empowerment. Now, on that same day, Mercury is going to be square Pluto. And this is a transit that can stir up some intense conversations. It can bring up some power struggles or maybe some deep mental realizations. You're going to want to choose your words carefully, right? What gets revealed now cannot be unseen or unheard. On the 17th of May, the sun is going to join with Uranus at 27 degrees of Taurus. This could bring us some shocks, could bring some surprises, right? Could also bring some breakthroughs around the topics of maybe your stability, your finances, the material world overall. If something feels like it's breaking apart at this time, you're going to want to trust that it's making space for something more authentic. This is going to be a day when the universe might pull the rug out from under some false foundations possibly, so be mindful of that. Mercury is going to square Mars on the 18th of May. This is going to be a day when we could have some tempers flaring, right? Some egos can feel really bruised. It's going to be easy to speak impulsively on this day, so mark it on your calendar as a day to really take a breath before you react to anything, especially verbally. Also on the 18th of May, Jupiter will be in Gemini squaring the North Node. So there's going to be a reminder to not get distracted, right, by every little shiny opportunity that comes along. Try to stay aligned with what your deeper spiritual path is. The sun is going to move into Gemini on the 20th of May. So this is going to shift the energy toward ideas, curiosity, and wanting to connect. Now, over the next month, you're probably going to feel this really strong pull to communicate, to network, to learn new things. And then on the 22nd of May, Venus is going to trine Mars. This is bringing us some supportive energy for romance, creativity, and courage. And this is a really beautiful time for some passion projects, if you have one, possibly even some new love relationships. We're going to reach a major milestone on the 24th of May because Saturn will officially be moving into Aries. We've been talking about this for quite a while. This is the first dip here for Saturn has about a 30-year transit, so 29, 30 years. So this cosmic taskmaster here, which is Saturn, is going to move into the very first sign of the zodiac, right, which is Aries. So it's launching a new cycle of personal responsibility, leadership, and really bold new beginnings. Over the next few years, we're all going to be asked to build a stronger foundation within ourselves. Also on the 24th of May, we will have the sun in Gemini trining Pluto in Aquarius. Well, this is an incredibly powerful day for regeneration, receiving some downloads, some insight, maybe deep transformation as well, right? If you have been waiting for a green light of some sorts to commit to a big change, then this is likely going to be the day where you feel like you're moving forward with that, or you've made the decision to move forward with that. Well, Mercury is going to join up with Uranus in Taurus on the 26th of May. So this combination can feel like genius ideas, right? That strike like lightning. You could have some new solutions coming to you regarding some issues or problems that you've been mulling over. You might have some sudden change in plans, possibly. And this could also be a really exciting time to have some mental breakthroughs, right? Because that's possible. Now, later that evening on the 26th, we're going to have that new moon in Gemini at 6 degrees. Now, this is an amazing time to set intentions around communication, learning, networking, and just opening new pathways for yourself. So if you want to launch a website, if you want to start a new conversation, if you want to take a new class, this new moon is going to help support those fresh new beginnings for you. And then finally, on the 30th of May, we're going to have Mercury join with the Sun in Gemini. Now, this is going to mark a really powerful culmination of that current Mercury cycle, right? It's been retrograde forever. This is the meeting with the Sun, so it's the superior conjunction here. Insights, revelations, and important conversations might bring you some real clarity around this day. And this is a strong moment for making decisions, for getting some communication breakthroughs, for seeing the bigger picture overall. Now, overall, May is going to be a month of brave action that's rooted in some spiritual truth. It's not enough to just wish for a change anymore. The universe is really asking us to move, to choose, to plant some real seeds at this time. And sometimes the way forward is going to surprise you, right? It's not always what you expected. Trust that the doors that open are for you. Trust in the invitations that are coming your way, and trust in your instincts, most importantly. When you step toward your dreams with some courage and authenticity, you're not just moving through the world, right? You're shaping your destiny. Now, just before we get into the rising sign detail, we're going to take a little bit closer look at the two moons for the month, the full moon in Scorpio and the new moon in Gemini. The full moon on May 12th is going to be lighting up at 22 degrees of Scorpio. It's bringing deep emotional revelations to the surface for us. The Scorpio full moons are rarely light or casual. They really ask us to confront the things that are hidden, what's unspoken, and what it is that truly needs to be transformed in our lives. Full moons are moments of culmination and closure, and Scorpio rules things like intimacy, shared resources, power, and emotional truth. The Sabian symbol for this full moon is a bunny metamorphosed into a fairy. So basically a bunny turned into a fairy. Now, this is a beautiful image that really speaks to that profound, inner transformation that we're going for right now. What begins in innocence can really evolve into something that's really magical when it's nurtured with things like faith and imagination. Now, spiritually, this full moon is going to invite us to shed some layers of fear and control that are no longer really serving us, and to trust that letting go really opens doors to true empowerment. And then, of course, practically speaking, you might be experiencing some intense conversations around this time. You might have some financial turning points come up in your life. You might also be doing a final release of a relationship dynamic that's really been weighing heavily on you. Now, the best way to work with this full moon is to stay honest, to be courageous, and to let go of anything that feels like it's manipulative, like it's draining or it's disempowering to you. True power comes from within, not from with something that we hold on to externally. So please remember that. Well, 2 weeks later, on the 26th of May, we are going to have the new moon in Gemini at 6 degrees. So this is opening a fresh chapter around communications, learning, and new beginnings. Gemini energy is very curious, it's playful, and it's highly connected. So this new moon is a really perfect time for setting some intentions around building new networks, starting some new conversations, maybe with some new people, pursuing some studies that you're interested in, or even just launching anything that's related to writing, speaking, or possibly social media. The Sabian symbol for the new moon is an old-fashioned well. So this is a beautiful reminder here that wisdom, nourishment, and connection to life's deeper truths are always available to us, right? Even when the times or the energy feels really scattered or uncertain, we just have to be willing to draw from that source, right? From that well. Well, spiritually, the Gemini new moon reminds us that words are spells, right? Every conversation that we have shapes the reality that we live in. So you need to think about what are the stories, what are the new stories that you're ready to begin telling. And then, of course, practically speaking, this is a really good time, this new moon, for making some new connections. If you want to sign up for some new classes, if you want to start a website, a blog, or you just want to be maybe making a commitment to learning something new overall, right? Stay open, stay flexible. Definitely trust that the curiosity that you have around this time can really lead you to exactly where you're meant to go. All right, now we have a sense of what's happening for the whole month, what the bigger themes are, the major turning points for May. Let's get into the rising sign horoscopes. As always, I recommend listening for your rising sign first for the most accurate reading. Then your sun sign for a little bit of extra insight, and your moon sign for some emotional resonance. If you don't know your rising sign, you can find it using a free natal chart calculator, one like astro-seek.com, and you'll need your birth time, your birth date, and your location in order to do that. All right, Aries Rising. May is lining up to be a powerful month for you. There's a strong focus on your identity, on your self-worth, and the way that you move through the world. And the cosmos is asking you to step into your power with some real courage and intention this month. Right from the start of the month, your personal energy feels electric. On the 2nd of May, Venus is going to meet up with Neptune in your first house. So this is really softening your presence and making you extra magnetic. People might see you as more mysterious, maybe more inspiring in some way. And if you're working on a creative project or you are wanting to launch something publicly, this is going to be a really beautiful time to share it. On the 4th of May, Pluto is going to station retrograde in your 11th house of friendships, communities, and future dreams. Now, over the coming months, you might find yourself reflecting on the deeper motivations behind your social connections. You might be thinking, are the groups that you're a part of really aligned with your future vision? Are the people that you're surrounding yourself helping you to grow in some way, right? Or are they keeping you tied to this old version of yourself, maybe that you're trying to let go of? This is a slow but a really important process of transformation, right? Pluto moves through a house very slowly and takes his time. Then around the 5th and 6th of May, Mercury is going to sextile Jupiter, and then also Venus will be sextiling Pluto. So this will be opening up some doors for you to have some powerful conversations, maybe to work on some negotiations if that's a potential for you. But there are going to be some magnetic opportunities here, right? If you've been thinking about applying for some sort of important role, maybe you wanted to reach out to someone, these are going to be really good days for you to do that. Now, your words and your presence are going to carry some extra power right now, so don't be afraid to speak boldly if that's how you feel. On the 10th of May, Mercury will be moving into Taurus, so this will be shifting the conversation toward things like finances and values. You'll start to think more seriously about what you truly need and what you need to feel secure, right? Not just materially, but also emotionally as well. Then around the middle of the month on the 12th, we'll have the full moon in Scorpio. And for you, that's lighting up your 8th house here. So it's bringing some hidden financial, maybe some emotional, possibly even some intimacy matters up to the surface for you. The Scorpio full moons are generally intense, and this one might bring a moment of truth around some shared resources, debts, inheritances. It could also just be some really vulnerable conversations that you're having within your relationships. You might be clearing up some sort of old financial tie, right? Maybe you are settling a loan in some way. Maybe you are resolving a debt that you have. You could also just be deciding how it is that you want to share or possibly separate the money that you have in a partnership. Well, this could be a deeply emotional full moon, one where you realize that you're really ready to release some old fears and to begin trusting yourself or possibly someone else on a deeper level. It is going to be a powerful moment of transformation, right? Even if it stirs up some vulnerability at first. The Sabian symbol for this full moon is a bunny turned into a fairy. So it's reminding you that when you confront your fears with some tenderness, then you start to unlock some magical transformations within yourself. Spiritually, this full moon is about trusting what it is that feels painful to release is actually going to be opening up some higher form of power for you. Mid-month, that energy starts to get a little bit feisty right there around the 12th because Mercury is also going to be squaring Pluto. So be mindful of any power struggles that are going on, especially with your friends, groups that you're involved with, or maybe in your online spaces. On the 18th, Mercury is going to square Mars. So this will be stirring up some tensions between your resources and your personal drive. It's going to be really easy to speak impulsively under these sort of skies, right? So remember to pause before you react. From about the 17th to the 20th of May, we're going to have some breakthroughs arrive. So the sun is going to meet up with Uranus in your second house of money and self-worth. That happens on the 17th. So this could bring some surprising shifts around your finances or possibly your personal values. You might be experiencing an unexpected raise, maybe, yay. It could be a new income opportunity for you altogether. It could be just a sudden realization that it's a time to value yourself a little bit more, right? Not just with the words, of course, but with the actions that you take. And then we're going to have a huge turning point on the 24th because Jupiter is going to be moving into Gemini. So this will be activating your third house of communication, learning, and local connections for the next year. And Jupiter brings growth and blessings wherever he goes. And for you, the next 12 months are going to be about expanding your voice. This is going to be an amazing time for you to start some writing, to start speaking, to work on your networking, right? Teaching something, or maybe even learning something that really lights you up. We also have Saturn moving into Aries for the first time in a really long time, about 30 years on the 24th. So this is your first house of self. You might be feeling the pressure building, right, to define yourself more clearly now. And that can feel a little bit heavy at some times, but it's also a sacred invitation to step into your most empowered and sovereign self. This is going to mark the beginning of a major new chapter of maturity, responsibility, and self-leadership for you. Saturn is going to be traveling through Aries for the next few years. It's going to be asking you to define what you really are and to back that up with some actual action. So it's going to be a time for you to build this version of you that can really carry your dreams into reality. It might feel like it's going to be heavy at times, and it is, right? That's kind of one of the side effects of Saturn, right? But Saturn here is really ultimately building your strength, your resilience, and your mastery. Just 2 days later then, on the 26th, we'll have a new moon at 6 degrees of Gemini. And this is perfectly synced with that Jupiter arrival. Well, this new moon isn't just about a new beginning. It's the seed point of a whole new 12-month cycle of growth around your voice, your learning, and your connections. The Sabian symbol for this new moon we did talk about up in the overview, but it's an old-fashioned well. So it's a really good reminder that those things like wisdom, nourishment, and deep truth are always available to us if we are willing to seek them. On the spiritual level, this new moon is going to be asking you, what stories are you ready to tell, right? What messages are you ready to share with the world? Now, it's important to remember to stay open, stay curious, because any new conversations that you begin now could really lead you to some incredible places, right? Ones that you haven't even really imagined yet. So for you, Aries, May is going to be a month where you're going to be asked to trust yourself more deeply than ever before. You are going to want to speak your truth. You're going to focus on building what really matters. And remember that the universe moves with the bold, right? Not the perfect. Next up, we have Taurus Rising. Taurus, for you, May is a major month. You might feel like the universe is giving you a gentle but probably an undeniable nudge here to grow beyond this old version of yourself. A lot of cosmic action is really happening right across this first 7th house axis, right? And this is the axis of self and relationships. So expect some personal revelations probably happening this month, maybe some relationship shifts, maybe even some sudden breakthroughs about what it is that you truly want and need. We start the month on the 2nd with Venus. Venus is your ruling planet, and she is meeting up with Neptune in your 12th house. So this can make you feel a little bit dreamy, probably some nostalgia coming through. Maybe you are emotionally sensitive on this day. You might even be just craving more rest, more solitude, maybe some additional spiritual connection. If you are feeling reflective in the early part of May, you should really honor that, right? There's some beautiful creative inspiration that can come through your dreams, your journaling, or some private time with spirit maybe. So I would definitely use that time wisely. Then we're going to have Pluto station retrograde on the 4th of May, and this is in your 10th house of career and public image. So over the coming months, you are going to be invited to rethink your long-term goals. You are thinking about whether you are building a life that still matches your soul's truth, right? Because maybe you evolved, changed, maybe you've been going through some transformation over the past few years, and you're trying to be more in alignment with that new version of yourself. You might experience some power dynamics at work. So there may be some issues coming up here to the surface for reflection. Now, if something feels heavy or like it's misaligned in the professional realm, trust that some deeper change is probably unfolding beneath the surface. Around May 5th and 6th, we will have Mercury sextiling Jupiter and also Venus sextiling Pluto. So this will open a quiet but probably some powerful opportunities for you. You're going to want to pay attention to any intuitive nudges that come around topics of money, career, or personal value. You could have a conversation that really helps to shift your future trajectory in some way, right? Even if it feels a little bit subtle at first, just explore it. Mercury is going to move into your first house on the 10th of May. So here your voice is going to get stronger, right? It's a great time to speak your mind, to attempt to clarify your goals in some way if that's what you're working on, or really try to express your truth more openly. So if you have been feeling a little bit put behind the scenes lately, right? May is going to bring you back into the spotlight a little bit. We're going to have the full moon in Scorpio on the 12th, and this is going to illuminate your 7th house of partnerships. Full moons bring culmination, they bring closure, or they bring revelation. With Scorpio involved, this could look like some deep emotional truths that rise to the surface, right? You might realize that it's time to deepen a commitment in some way around this time. You might be thinking about renegotiating the terms of a partnership that you're involved in. In some cases, acknowledging that something really needs to end so that both people are able to grow. This full moon may stir some intense feelings around the topics of trust, loyalty, and emotional vulnerability. Try to let yourself really feel what it is that arises around this time, even if it's a little bit messy, because that's sort of the intent. Sometimes honoring your truth really means that you are admitting that you've changed in some way, right? And relationships must change with you. The Sabian symbol for this full moon is a bunny metamorphosed into a fairy. So bunny changed to a fairy, right? A beautiful image of personal transformation. Now, spiritually, then this full moon is going to be asking you to recognize the magic that's born when you stop clinging to old fears and you allow yourself and others to have space to evolve and change. We are going to start to see some breakthroughs come mid-May. On the 17th, the sun will be joining up with Uranus in your first house. So you can expect some surprises. Maybe you might have a personal epiphany. You could also have some sudden changes in how it is that you present yourself to the world. Change definitely might feel uncomfortable at first, but trust that what's being shaken up for you now is really exactly what's needed in order to build a stronger, freer foundation for your future self. Around this time, you could feel an urge to change your appearance in some way. Your goals might be going through some review and reflection. You might feel that you want to express your identity a little bit differently in some way. And so even if it feels strange at first, right, these shifts are going to align the more closely that you get in touch with your true self. And that's what's important to remember. Mercury is going to square off with Mars on the 18th. So this is a day where you're going to want to be mindful of the impatience that you could be experiencing, or maybe some reactive communication, especially in terms of your personal or your professional relationships. So mark that one on your calendar. On the 20th of May, the sun is going to move into Gemini. So this is going to shift your focus toward topics like money, resources, and self-worth. Now, over the next month, these themes around what it is that you value and how you invest in yourself are going to take a more center stage. And then we have a couple of major shifts happening on the 24th. So first, Jupiter is going to move into Gemini. So this is kicking off a longer cycle of growth around your finances, resources, and personal security. So over the next 12 months, you could expand your income streams. You might be investing in some new skill that you want to learn. You might make some choices that really help to strengthen your material foundation in some way. Well, this sets the stage really beautifully for that new moon that's happening just 2 days later. So there's an opportunity to plant seeds for real lasting abundance. And then the second thing that we have happening is Saturn entering Aries, so moving into your 12th house. Now this begins a 2-year, actually it's 2.5-year cycle where you're going to be asked to confront some old fears, to take a look at your subconscious patterns, and to handle any unfinished emotional business. Now, there may be some moments during this time when the work that you're doing on the inside feels like it's invisible to the outside world, right? But that doesn't mean that it's not real. So trust that your inner foundation is becoming unshakable. That's what you're working on. Saturn here isn't punishing. It's really helping you to clear the way for some deeper freedom and some peace. The new moon in Gemini happens on the 26th. So this is really offering a fresh start for your finances and your sense of self-worth. The Sabian symbol for the new moon is an old-fashioned well. And this is a reminder to all of us. It's a visual reminder that lasting and nourishment really comes from sources that are deep, that are enduring, and that are real. So trust the value that you're building now, right? Not just financially, but also spiritually. This is a really great time to set some tangible goals as well, right? Like maybe starting a savings plan, maybe investing in a new skill, probably committing to some sort of financial growth that feels really empowering to you. Now, May is a month where your inner and your outer worlds are evolving together. So it's relationships, identity, and finances. All are being reshaped so that they can reflect your true worth, right? Trust the changes, trust yourself. You're not really losing anything real, right? You're stepping into a new chapter of authenticity and abundance, and that's what you're intended to do. Good luck to you, Taurus. All right, Gemini Rising. May is a turning point kind of month for you. And honestly, it's one of the most exciting chapters that you've probably had in quite a while. Well, this is the month where the universe is handing you the keys to a brand new 12-year cycle of growth, opportunity, and expansion. The spotlight is moving directly onto you, right? Your identity, your dreams, and that life that you're really ready to begin building. We start the month on the 2nd of May with Venus meeting up with Neptune, and this is happening in your 10th house of career and public image. Now, early May could bring a beautiful, maybe inspired energy around your professional goals in some way. So if you're in a creative field or maybe building something that's visible, this could be a moment where you have some inspiration strike. But it can also bring a little bit of a haze because Neptune is involved. So great work when Neptune's around to be artistic and inspired, right? But be mindful of idealizing career paths or promises without really checking all the facts first. Well, Pluto is going to station retrograde on May 4th, and this will be in your 9th house of beliefs, education, and long-distance travel. So over the next few months, you might find yourself rethinking the bigger story that you believe about your life. What do you really believe about your destiny? Are your goals still aligned with what you are becoming? Spiritually or educational journeys, those things that felt really urgent earlier this year might now feel like they need a little bit of deep reflection. Around May 5th and 6th, Mercury is going to sextile Jupiter and Venus will be sextiling Pluto. So these days could bring some powerful conversations with your friends, maybe with some mentors that you have, or some groups that inspire you toward a new goal. Opportunities could come up through your social circles, through your networking community, or through just general collaborations that you have. So you're going to want to keep your ears and your heart open to hearing those things. Mercury, which is your ruling planet, is going to move into Taurus on the 10th of May. So this is entering your 12th house here. And this is going to bring a short but also a reflective window where you might feel called to slow down a little bit, maybe do some meditation and gather your thoughts before this sort of massive momentum that's happening a little bit later this month. When we get around the middle of the month on the 12th, we are going to have the full moon in Scorpio, and this is going to be lighting up your 6th house of work, health, and daily routines. Now, full moons bring culmination and illumination. And with Scorpio in the mix, some deep emotional truths can surface around your habits, your well-being, or maybe with your working relationships. Around this time, you might realize that a work situation, maybe some sort of daily routine that you're attached to, or even just like a physical habit that you've outgrown, is not really sustainable any longer, and it's time for a transformation here. So honor what your body and your spirit are telling you, even if that change is going to feel a little bit intimidating at first. Well, the Sabian symbol for this this full moon is a bunny metamorphosed into a fairy. So bunny turned fairy. And this really is a visual reminder that growth often requires some vulnerability first. When you trust your deeper instincts, then the magic can unfold. Now, the breakthroughs that you've probably been waiting for are coming through around the mid-month. So on the 17th, the sun is going to meet up with Uranus in your 12th house. So this could stir up some powerful insights from your subconscious. And you might have some sudden flashes of intuition, maybe dreams that deliver you some sort of guidance. You might have some unexpected realizations about what's been sort of quietly holding you back. So pay attention to what it is that's bubbling up right now, because it's meant for you to listen. On the 18th, Mercury is going to square Mars. So here you're going to want to be cautious, right? Because there's some irritability around words. There's some sharpness around words, especially if you feel like you're being misunderstood. I would recommend journaling or maybe doing some private venting, as that might be some safer options in terms of maybe having some direct confrontations, right? And the sun is going to enter Gemini on the 20th, and this is going to shift the energy drastically. So suddenly you're going to kind of be back in your element, right? You're going to feel alive. You're going to be inspired. You're going to feel seen. So this month is going to close out with some of the biggest moments of the year for you. Now, Jupiter only visits your sign once every 12 years, anybody's sign really, but when it does, it blesses you with growth, opportunity, optimism, and a real sense of new beginnings. So over the next year, your world is going to get bigger, right? It's completely normal if you don't have all the answers yet, right? That's not the intention. Growth often feels a little bit chaotic before it feels clear. So trust that your future self is really already sort of guiding you where you're going. You might find yourself traveling more over the next year. You may be studying something new. You might be launching some sort of personal project, right? You might be attracting some connections that really open up some new exciting doors for you as well. This is a really powerful moment of becoming, basically. And the universe is asking you to trust yourself enough so that you can step into what feels unknown, right? Also on the 24th of May, Saturn is going to move into Aries. So this is your 11th house of friendships, communities, and future dreams. Saturn here brings a new seriousness to your long-term visions, right? You're building a tribe that reflects the future you, not the past you. So trust that any relationships that feel grounded, supported, and real are meant for you. Right? It's about quality over quantity at this time, and the alliances that you forge during this time could also help to shape that next chapter of your life. And then we'll have the new moon in Gemini on the 26th. And this new moon it's not just about the new monthly cycle, right? Of course, always it's a new monthly cycle, but this one is synced with Jupiter's entry into your sign. So it's making it one of the most powerful new moons that you're going to experience probably in years. Now, the Sabian symbol for the new moon is an old-fashioned well, and we talked about that a little bit in the overview. So this vision is sharing with us that wisdom and nourishment that you need, those things already exist inside of you, right? So at this time, you should be setting some intentions that feel like they come from your soul, not your ego. And really just watch how life begins to meet you with some surprising grace here, right? So for you, Gemini, May is going to mark this beginning of a brand new chapter in your life, right? It's new dreams, it's new goals, and it's a new self-image. My recommendation is to trust in this expansion that's coming your way. Definitely trust in some wild possibilities, right? Because they may be plausible, right? You're not just growing at this time. You have 12 months, right? You're rising into this life where, you've always been meant to live. Good luck to you, Gemini. Right, next up we have Cancer Rising. May is an important month for you. It's one that shines a bright light on your long-term goals, your emotional foundations, and the future that you're building. Well, there's a lot of movement across your 10th, 11th, and 12th houses. So you'll feel this month really pulling you between public ambitions, personal dreams, and probably private emotional work that supports all of that stuff. Well, we start the month on May 2nd with Venus meeting up with Neptune in your 9th house. Now, early May could spark a wave of inspiration around your beliefs, your spiritual practices, maybe educational pursuits for some of you. You might feel drawn to study something more deeply. You may be looking to plan some travel. You might be wanting to reconnect with your sense of faith in terms of life's bigger journey. And then on the 4th of May, we're going to have Pluto station retrograde in your 8th house of shared resources, transformation, and emotional depth. Now, over the coming months, you might find yourself reviewing some deep emotional bonds. You may be looking at your financial entanglements in some way. You might have some old wounds related to trust and vulnerability that you're working through. Healing is happening, even if it's unfolding really quietly beneath the surface for you. Well, Mercury is going to sextile Jupiter, and Venus will be sextiling Pluto. This is happening around the 5th and 6th of May. So this looks like opportunities that could arrive through career conversations, maybe some sudden realizations about what you truly want for your future occurred to you. Now, if you have been questioning your professional path or maybe your public image in some way, this moment is probably going to provide you with some insight around that. Mercury is going to move into Taurus on the 10th of May. So that's activating your 11th house of friendships, dreams, and your networks. You'll start focusing more on who you're connected to and whether your social circles are really aligned with your future vision around this time. The full moon in Scorpio on May 12th is going to be lighting up your 5th house of creativity, romance, joy, and self-expression. Well, full moons are always emotional, but when Scorpio is involved, this one is likely to pull at the deepest parts of your heart. Now, you might experience some intense feelings around love, children, creativity, and your sense of joy, right? Maybe you have some sort of creative project that comes to fruition around this time. You might also realize that it's a time to release something that doesn't really spark true happiness within you anymore, right? So let yourself feel all of that, right? Vulnerability is a gift. It's not a weakness by any means. Now, the Sabian symbol for this full moon is a bunny metamorphosed into a fairy. A powerful image here of some emotional and creative transformation happening. Now, spiritually, the full moon is reminding you that when you release what no longer is aligned, you are making room for some true magic to be able to unfold in your life. And I just want to say here, because I feel like your sign in particular is one of the ones that I often say is no longer aligned, that you know what's no longer aligned for you anymore. I think we all know that on a deep level. I think it's admitting it, it's acknowledging it, and it's making the change to do something different, right? That's the deeper meaning there. It's so easy to stay in our comfort zone, right? Because it's known and it has fears that are known, if you will. But it's really important to be able to move beyond that. Now, mid-May is going to bring some moments of surprise and clarity for you. On the 17th, the sun will meet up with Uranus, which is in your 11th house. So this is shaking up your friendships, your communities, your future dreams, possibly. You might meet someone unexpectedly who sort of changes your plans. You could realize that there's an old dream that no longer fits who it is that you're becoming. And then on the 18th, Mercury is going to square Mars. So Tensions could flare a little bit here, right, around friends or your group dynamics. If a conflict does arise, it's probably going to be really important for you to ask yourself, is this confrontation truly about what's happening right now, or is there something deeper that's really wanting to be acknowledged or dealt with at this time? On the 20th of May, the sun is going to move into Gemini. So this is the beginning of a more introspective month where you are going to be craving some more solitude, rest, and probably some spiritual reconnection. Then on the 24th of May, we're going to have a pretty big energetic shift. Now, Jupiter will be moving into Gemini, and that's activating the 12th house for you, but for the next full year. So this is a year for some profound spiritual growth for you, possibly some healing, maybe some inner expansion. Jupiter in the 12th house supports things like therapy, dream work, spiritual study, and releasing old subconscious patterns, because those are the things that are holding you back. You might find yourself needing more rest during the next year, right? Taking the time for more reflection and private time overall than you usually do. So honor that. It's important for you to be able to do that and for you to make space for that. Growth doesn't always happen when we are pushing through, right? Sometimes it happens through just a kind of surrender. Also on the 24th, we're going to have Saturn move into Aries. So this is moving into your 10th house of career, reputation, and life direction. You are entering a really serious new phase professionally. Saturn here asks you to commit to ambitions, attempt to take on greater responsibility, and to build some structures that can really last in your life. Even when that road feels really steep for you, know that you are not alone, right? The structures that you're building now are going to help support not just yourself, but others too. So it's not really about rushing, right? Saturn is going to be here for about 2.5 years, but it's really about laying the foundation for some real lasting success over the next few years. And finally, on the 26th, the new moon in Gemini is going to offer a fresh start to your spiritual life. So this new moon is very nicely synced with Jupiter's arrival in your 12th house. So it's making it a really beautiful moment to set some intentions for things like healing, forgiveness, and some soul growth. The Sabian symbol for this new moon is an old-fashioned well. So it's basically helping us to understand that nourishment always comes from within, not from external validation. So it's important to trust that quiet whispers that you hear from your soul around this time, because those are the things that are pointing you towards some sort of healing waters, right? Things that are going to sustain your future success. So for you, Cancer, May is going to be a month that is helping you to align your outer life with your inner truth. Love, creativity, career, all are sort of evolving together, right? They're weaving a new story for your future. So it's important that you trust your emotions. It's important that you trust your dreams, and trust that what is being built for you right now, quietly and steadily, right, will soon shine very brightly for the world to see. Good luck to you, Cancer. Next up, we have Leo Rising. Welcome, Leo. Hope you are well. May is a month that calls for you to step into even bigger leadership, but in a way that feels really authentic, not like you are trying to force anything. It's just who you are. Now, your career, your public image, and future dreams are all sort of in the cosmic spotlight. But there's also this strong undercurrent that's happening of emotional growth, and it's behind the scenes for the most part. So the month asks you to find a new balance between your ambition and emotional nourishment. If you listen really closely, you're going to find that you are making choices that feel powerful and also sustainable. And we start the month off on the 2nd of May with Venus meeting Neptune in your 8th house of shared resources, intimacy, and transformation. This is a soft sort of spiritual influence that could bring some deeper emotional connections to you, right? It could also invite you to release some old financial or maybe emotional entanglements. You know what's happening with you, so trust your intuition around what feels soul nourishing versus what feels draining to you. Pluto is going to station retrograde on the 4th of May in your 7th house of partnerships. So over the next few months, you are going to be asked to reflect on the deeper dynamics within your close relationships. These are your personal, your romantic, and your professional relationships. So power dynamics might surface. They're coming up for you to do some review. So if something feels like it's a little bit unbalanced or a lot unbalanced, this retrograde is going to give you that chance to sort of reclaim your power in a lovingly but probably firm way. Around the 5th and 6th of May, we're going to have Mercury sextiling Jupiter and also Venus sextiling Pluto. So these days bring some opportunities to connect with some supportive people for you. This could be through your broader networks. It could even be through educational or maybe some travel experiences, but you're going to want to say yes to conversations that help to expand your world around this time. Mercury is going to move into Taurus on the 10th of May. This will be highlighting your career and your public image. Now, you are going to be thinking more seriously about where you're headed professionally. And you may start renegotiating terms around visibility, leadership, authority, and those sorts of things. Speak clearly about what your goals are. That's what's important. We're going to have the full moon in Scorpio on May 12th. This is lighting up your 4th house of home, family, and emotional roots. Full moons bring us illumination and closure, and this one stirs some deep emotional waters for you. Now, you might feel pulled between the demands of your public life and the quieter needs of your personal life. There could be a home situation that could reach some type of turning point around this time. You might simply realize that it's time to build some stronger emotional foundations beneath your external success. Now, the Sabian symbol for this full moon is a bunny metamorphosed into a fairy. So it's an image about inner transformation. Now, spiritually, this moon is reminding you that tending to your emotional needs doesn't weaken your power in any way. It truly strengthens it. Now, around mid-May, we're going to start to experience some breakthroughs, all of us. So on the 17th of May, the sun is going to join up with Uranus, and this is in your 10th house. For you, you might experience some surprising changes around your career goals, around your public image, or maybe even leadership roles. This could look like a career opportunity that arrives suddenly or unexpectedly. It could be that you feel a really strong urge to pivot toward a path that feels more freeing in some way. Sudden opportunities to maybe be seen or recognized in some way, in a way that probably stirs some level of excitement, but also some sort of vulnerability could be coming up. What's important here is that you want to trust that you're more than ready, right? More than you realize. So even if things feel a little bit chaotic at first, trust that what you're being handed by the universe is really realigning you with your most authentic ambitions here. Then on the 18th of May, Mercury is going to square Mars. So here it's important to be cautious about defensiveness in terms of your professional conversations, right? My best advice is choose your battles wisely. And then on the 20th, the sun is going to enter Gemini. So this is going to be shifting your focus toward friendships, networking, and long-term dreams. Now, the energy is going to lighten up quite a bit. So you are going to feel called to connect, to collaborate, and to think a little bit bigger. And then on the 24th, we have two pretty big energetic shifts happening. First, Jupiter is going to move into Gemini, and this is activating the 11th house. So it's friendships, community, and long-term visions for the next year. Now, over the next 12 months, the more you collaborate, the more you're going to grow. Now, this is a time to lead not just for yourself, but to also help lift others up with you. So your light really helps to make it easier for others to find their way, right? You're a Leo, so use that to your advantage. This could also look like new friendships coming into your life. There could be some mentoring opportunities made available to you. Potentially some of you would be inviting to a speaking engagement, right? But it's these sort of collaborative leadership projects that are being highlighted for you at this time. So surround yourself with people who can see your vision and who want to help build it alongside you. We also have on the 24th, Saturn moving into Aries. So that's the second thing. Now, this is moving into your 9th house of higher education, belief systems, and long distance journeys. Now, Saturn is the taskmaster, and he always wants to help us mature and be building something. So you're being called to build a stronger, wiser foundation for your future dreams. Now, over the next few years, your beliefs are going to be tested, right? But also strengthened. So topics that come up for you are going to be study, travel, and spiritual exploration. And all of those things are really going to help you to build a new personal philosophy that can truly carry you into the future of where you want to go. And finally, on May 26th, we're going to have the new moon in Gemini, and it's offering a fresh start to your long-term dreams and your social world. Now, this new moon, it's perfectly synced with that Jupiter arrival into your 11th house. So it makes it a really powerful time to set some intentions for collaboration, innovation, and future building. Now, the Sabian symbol for this new moon is an old-fashioned well. This is really trying to help us understand that true support and nourishment often comes from timeless but also authentic sources. You should be setting some intentions that honor both your vision but also your values around this new moon. You might find yourself collaborating on some sort of creative project around this time. You might be leading some sort of community initiative around this time. You could also just be joining up with some forces of people who really share your bigger dreams. So trust that the right people are really coming in for you and that opportunities are going to flow toward you when you are standing in your truth. Around this time, you are going to want to be setting some intentions that really honor both your vision but also your values. You might find yourself collaborating around this time on a creative project. You could be taking the lead on a community initiative in some way. Some of you could just be joining forces with people who share your bigger dreams. So trust that the right people and the right opportunities will flow towards you. What's meant for you is going to come to you, and that happens when you stand in your truth. So for you, Leo, May is a month of some brave visibility, but also some tender inner work that's happening. So trust the changes that are unfolding in the realm of your career, your dreams, and your heart. You are not just building success around this time. You're really trying to build a life that feels true, free, and fully yours. All right, Virgo Rising. Virgo, hope you are doing well. May is a month that's going to encourage you to refine your vision for your future, right? But definitely not by forcing it. Now, instead, the universe is gently guiding you to align more deeply with what feels meaningful, sustainable, and healing for your soul. Now, there's a beautiful sort of weaving this month between career opportunities, inner growth, and emotional clarity. But what it requires is moving slowly, listening carefully, and trusting in the process. We start the month off on the 2nd of May with Venus meeting Neptune, and that happens in your 7th house of partnerships. So relationships, this is romantic, it's business, and it's your close friendships. All of these relationships might feel a little bit dreamy, they might feel inspiring, or even a little bit confusing when we're talking about the early portion of the month. It's a really beautiful time for connection and healing, but try to stay grounded, especially if there's someone who seems a little bit too good to be true at first, right? Make sure you don't have your rose-colored glasses on. Neptune warning. On the 4th of May, Pluto is going to station retrograde in your 6th house. This is the house of work, health, and daily routines. So over the next few months, you'll be revisiting themes around personal power in terms of your everyday life. So are your habits supporting your growth, right? Is your work environment nourishing or is it draining you? This retrograde is going to be that chance to fine-tune the structures that really sustain you. That's physically, emotionally, and spiritually as well. Around the 5th and 6th of May, Mercury will be in Aries, sextiling Jupiter, and Venus is going to be sextiling Pluto. So these days really open the doors for some meaningful professional conversations. Maybe there's some opportunities here to, some quiet opportunities to sort of pivot your career in a more aligned direction for you, right? So pay attention to any intuitive nudges about your long-term goals, right? Those could be things that lead to some real breakthroughs later on for you. Now, on the 10th of May, Mercury is going to move into Taurus. So this is going to be activating the 9th house of education, travel, and belief systems. Your mind is going to turn toward those big picture ideas, right? Where are you going? What do you truly believe? This is a really beautiful time to study, to teach, to publish, or maybe plan some travel that helps to expand your understanding not only of yourself, but also of the world. The full moon in Scorpio on the 12th of May will be lighting up your 3rd house. This is the house of communication, learning, and local connections. Now, full moons bring us culmination and they bring us clarity. And this one could illuminate a major shift in how you communicate or maybe how you relate to your immediate environment. Or you could realize around this time that you have a way of thinking possibly. Maybe it's a way of speaking. It could be the way that you learn. And this is something that you've relied on for a really long time, but it's really no longer fully serving your growth, right? And you need to know that it's okay to let go of outdated ideas or maybe outdated communication habits, because if they are holding you back, then they are preventing your growth. Now, the Sabian symbol for this full moon is a bunny metamorphosed into a fairy. This is a visual reminder for us that when you trust your quiet growth, what's happening on the inside, then transformation becomes inevitable, right? We must be who we are on the inside externally. Now, spiritually, this full moon is going to invite you to claim your voice in some way. It wants you to share your authentic thoughts, right? Even if those things feel a little bit vulnerable. Well, mid-May is going to bring some intuitive insights, maybe also some breakthrough moments for you. On May 17th, the sun is going to meet with Uranus, and this is in your 9th house. This could potentially look like sudden opportunities that are related to the topics of travel, maybe publishing, possibly teaching. Could be some shifts in your personal beliefs that appear around this time as well. Now, it might feel disorienting at first if your worldview shifts a little bit quickly, but trust that some new doors are opening because your soul is really ready for some more, right? And we're not given more until we're ready for it. On the 18th of May, Mercury is going to square Mars. So be very mindful of heated conversations on this day, probably the day before, the day after too, but especially around things like philosophical differences for you, right? You're going to want to choose curiosity over defensiveness. That will be your way, your most positive path forward. On the 20th, the sun is going to move into Gemini, and this will be spotlighting your 10th house of career and public reputation. So the last third of the month really shifts your energy toward professional ambitions and your larger place in the world. Then on the 24th, we're going to have two pretty powerful changes. First, Jupiter is going to move into Gemini. So this is going to be activating your 10th house for the next full year. Now, this is the beginning of a year-long cycle of career expansion, of recognition, of professional growth for you. So over the next 12 months, you might receive a promotion. You could possibly launch a business. You might become more visible in the field that you're already in, right? You could also find sort of a cleaner path toward a leadership role that you have desired. Now, we also have Saturn moving into Aries on the 24th as well. So this is in your 8th house of shared resources, intimacy, and personal transformation. This is going to begin a 2.5-year cycle. That's Saturn. That's about how long Saturn stays in a sign, where you're going to be asked to build healthier emotional and financial bonds with others. So here it's about choosing trust very wisely, right? And strengthening your resilience in how you share yourself and how you share your resources with others. And finally, on the 26th, then we'll have the new moon in Gemini, and we'll be planting seeds for a new era in your professional life. So this new moon is really nicely synced with that Jupiter's entry into your 10th house. So it's making it one of the most powerful new moons that you're going to experience in your career path. Now, the Sabian symbol for this new moon is an old-fashioned well. This visual picture here is helping us to understand that true success really springs from inner wisdom and patience. It doesn't come from chasing trends or from, seeking external validation. So around this new moon, you're going to want to set some intentions for career growth that feel really authentic to who you are becoming, right? Not just who you used to be or who the world expects you to be. Now, for you, Virgo, May is a month of some meaningful refinement, but also some quiet but profound expansion. So it's important that you trust your intuition. It's important that you honor your growth, right? You're not just working harder. That's not what we're trying to achieve. You want to work wiser, right? And your future that you're building is going to reflect the soul of who you truly are. Good luck to you. All right, next up we have Libra Rising. Welcome, Libra. Hope you are doing well. For you, May is a deeply significant month for your relationships, for your self-worth, and the foundations that you're building for the future. And much of the cosmic energy that's happening this month activates your 7th, 8th, and 9th houses. So these are the spaces of partnerships, shared growth, and bigger life visions. It's a month where important decisions, emotional shifts, and opportunities for some deeper connection are all in motion. And the more that you trust your evolving truth, the more aligned your path will become. Well, we start the month off on May 2nd with Venus meeting up with Neptune. Now, Venus is your ruling planet, and she'll be in the 6th house. This is the house of daily routines and wellness and work. So early May could feel really dreamy. Maybe it's inspiring. Maybe it's a little bit scattered as well when it comes to work and self-care. So if you can, you're going to want to lean into spiritual nourishment and creativity at this time, right? What you are going to want to watch out for is sort of overcommitting, maybe idealizing some daily obligations without really checking through all the facts first, right? You want to make sure you're not wearing your rose-colored glasses when everything looks beautiful. You want to understand what you're truly committing to. On the 4th of May, Pluto's going to retrograde. It's going to station retrograde. So this is in your 5th house. This is the house of creativity, of children if you have them, romance, and self-expression. Now, over the next few months, you're going to be reviewing how you express your joy, your passion, and your authenticity. Are your creative outlets really still aligned with what you feel in your heart? You'll be thinking about whether your romantic connections are really ones that empower you or whether they feel like they maybe are draining your energy. It's important to remember here, Pluto goes direct for about half of the year, for about 6 months, and then retrogrades for about 6 months. So this is a period of reflection of these 5th house topics for you. Now, around the 5th and 6th of May, Mercury is going to be sextiling Jupiter, and Venus will be sextiling Pluto. So these are really golden days for things like important conversations that you need to have with people like your partners, your mentors, or maybe some close allies. It's going to be a time when you want to speak your truth, but you also want to be able to listen with your heart. That's important, right? New agreements, any sort of shifts in partnerships, educational opportunities. All of these things could be emerging around this time to help support your growth. So keep your eyes open for them. On the 10th of May, then Mercury is going to move into Taurus, and that's going to shift your focus and your attention to things more like emotional bonds, your finances, and your shared resources. You'll be thinking a little more deeply about where and with whom you invest all of your time, energy, and your trust. The full moon in Scorpio happens on the 12th of May, and this will be lighting up your 2nd house of self-worth, values, and material security. Full moons bring us illumination and they bring us closure, and this one is going to be asking you to face where your true value actually lies. You might realize around this time that there's a financial situation. Maybe it is an issue of self-worth. Could also be a relationship dynamic that needs some recalibration. If something or someone no longer really honors your value, then it's time to advocate for yourself with both love and strength. And the Sabian symbol for the full moon is a bunny metamorphosed into a fairy. This is a visual reminder for us that when you honor your inner worth, then transformation naturally follows. Spiritually, during this full moon, you're going to be invited to stop settling for a situation that makes you shrink, right? You want to stand firmly in your inherent magic. Mid-May is going to bring us some surprising breakthroughs, maybe even some new visions. So on the 17th of May, the sun is going to join up with Uranus. This happens in your 8th house of shared resources and emotional intimacy. So this could look like some financial changes. Maybe there are some emotional revelations happening at this time. There could be some shifts in the deep bonds that you hold that appear very suddenly. Now, if something happens that feels destabilizing at first, it's important to trust that these shifts are really clearing some space for more authentic connection and support in your life. On the 18th of May, Mercury is going to square up to Mars. So it's important to tread lightly, right? Mark this on your calendar. You're going to want to tread lightly and sensitively with financial or emotional discussions, right? Pause before you react. That could help you prevent some unnecessary conflict, right? And that's what you're trying to avoid. On the 20th of May, then, the sun is going to enter Gemini, and this is going to be shining a light on your 9th house, topics of wisdom, exploration, and expansion. So the energy sort of lightens around this time, and it's inviting you to dream a little bit bigger, to learn something new, or to open your mind to some new possibilities. And then on the 24th, we're going to have a couple of powerful shifts. And the first one is that Jupiter is going to move into Gemini. And this is activating your 9th house, but for the next full year. So this is a year for expanding your world through things like study, travel, spiritual exploration, but also some bold new dreams. This might look like you enrolling in some higher education. You might try to publish something that's very meaningful to you. You may travel somewhere that ends up being life-changing. You could also develop a philosophy that just better supports the life that you're building for the future. We also have Saturn moving into Aries on the 24th, so your 7th house of committed partnerships. Well, Saturn has about a 2.5-year transit in a sign. So over the next few years, you're really being called to build relationships based on mutual respect, responsibility, and shared values. So there are some partnerships that will grow stronger through some level of commitment that you're taking on, but others might naturally fall away if they really weren't built to last. And then finally on the 26th, we will have that new moon in Gemini. And this is offering a fresh start for your visions, for your belief systems, for your dreams. Well, this new moon is really nicely synced with that Jupiter arrival into your 9th house. So it's making it a beautiful time to plant some seeds for personal, but also academic and also spiritual growth. The Sabian symbol for this new moon is an old-fashioned well. And we talked a little bit about that in the overview. But this vision really helps us to understand that true wisdom is timeless, right? It flows from sources deeper than these surface level trends that we experience every day. Around this new moon, it will be best for you to set some intentions that help to expand your mind, your heart, and your possibilities. So trust that the right teachers, the right journeys, and the inspiration will appear to you. So for you, Libra, May is going to be a month of choosing yourself. You're going to want to trust that your deeper wisdom and the partnerships that you're building, these dreams that you are truly trying to honor, are going to match up with your soul. You're not just trying to negotiate your relationships, right? You're negotiating your whole future, and your future really deserves your very best. Good luck to you, Libra. For Scorpio and Scorpio Rising, welcome. I hope you are doing well. May is a month that feels deeply personal, but also deeply transformational for you. And much of the action this month revolves around you. So it's your identity, your relationships, and your deeper emotional bonds. The universe is guiding you to release old identities. It wants you to forge some deeper connections and trust the powerful growth that's happening both on the inside and the out. On the 2nd of May, we're going to kick the month off with Venus meeting up with Neptune. And this is in your 5th house of creativity, romance, and self-expression. This is going to bring a really dreamy, probably romantic, maybe even an imaginative tone to this early part of the month for you. You may be experiencing some creative inspiration that's flowing very easily to you. At the same time, you could also be having a little bit of fantasy flow very easily to you. So whenever Neptune is involved, it's important to make sure that we're not wearing our rose-colored glasses, that we're using that feeling, that energy towards some creative or imagination, and we're really trying to stay grounded as best as possible. So enjoy the beauty and the connection that you're experiencing around that early part of the month, but stay grounded, especially in terms of your romantic situations where reality can kind of get a little bit blurry here. Pluto is going to station retrograde on the 4th of May, and this is the 4th house for you of home, family, and emotional foundations. So over the next few months, you'll be invited to review the structures that you've built around your emotional life. You're going to be thinking about whether you have rooted in spaces and relationships that help to support your growth. Some hidden emotional patterns tied to either family history or maybe some early childhood conditioning might be resurfacing now. It's asking for a deeper level of healing to come through. Around the 5th and the 6th of May, Mercury is going to be sextile Jupiter, and then Venus will also be sextile Pluto. So these days are going to offer some powerful support for you to engage in some healing conversations, for you to have some therapeutic breakthroughs. There could also be some sort of behind the scenes collaborations that are going on with you and some others. This is a really good time to sort of clear the air at work. It's also a good time to invest energy into creative or maybe some healing projects that help to nourish you. Now, on the 10th of May, Mercury is going to move into Taurus. This will be lighting up your 7th house of committed partnerships. There's going to be some communication in relationships that starts to become a major theme around this time. This might look like contracts. It could be agreements. It could be some important conversations with significant others that could become really central and help have some clearer dialogue that really leads to having some stronger bonds. The full moon in Scorpio happens on May 12th, and this is lighting up your 1st house. So it's your personal identity, it's your body, and it's your life path. Well, full moons always bring us some sort of culmination and revelation. And when the full moon falls in your sign, it's really incredibly personal. So Scorpio moons also happen to be reputationally very intense or emotional. So around this time, you might find yourself confronting parts of your identity that you believe that you've outgrown. And letting go can feel really vulnerable, right? Because that's the person that you know. But it's also profoundly empowering, right? This is going to be your invitation to shed that old skin and to step forward into this next true form that you've created. Because all of this work that you've been doing, you're not just trying to experience transformation for the sake of it, right? You're orchestrating your transformation. So it's important that you trust the power of your choices. Now, the Sabian symbol for this full moon is a bunny metamorphosed into a fairy. This is the perfect image for you this month because, you know, it's that innocence changing into something completely different, right? Both equally good. Well, spiritually, this full moon is going to remind you that innocence doesn't necessarily mean weakness, right? It actually doesn't mean it at all. It's your capacity to trust life again that then becomes your source of power and magic in this life. Now, mid-May is going to bring us some sudden shifts, and for you, it's in your relationships and your emotional landscape. So on the 17th of May, the sun is going to meet up with Uranus in your 7th house of partnerships. This might look like some new relationships that might enter very quickly. There could be some surprising developments that occur around your existing relationships. Now, whether it's through some sudden deepening or some sort of unexpected change that's happening, what you're really being asked here is to shake up that old relational dynamic that you have and to make some space for something that's a little bit more authentic and a little bit free in terms of connections. On the 18th of May, Mercury is going to square Mars. So this might stir up some tensions, and especially if there's some old emotional wounds that are being poked around this time. So if there is a conflict that arises, most importantly, pause before you react, right? It's easier to burn bridges, right, quickly under this transit than it is to build them. So be mindful of your words. That's probably my best advice. Now, on the 20th of May, then the sun is going to move into Gemini. So this will be shifting your energy into your 8th house, topics like intimacy, shared resources, and deep transformation. So this second half of May then is going to be asking you to go inward. It wants you to honor the quieter, the subtler shifts that are happening beneath the surface for you. Then on the 24th of May, we're going to have a couple of pivotal changes. The first one is that Jupiter is going to enter Gemini. So this is activating your 8th house for the next full year. So over the next 12 months, you're entering this profound cycle of emotional healing, of financial restructuring. Maybe it's intimate transformation for some of you. You could receive some financial windfalls around this time through others. That's a possibility. You might dive deep into some sort of therapy or maybe some healing work. You could be merging resources with a partner as well around this time. There could also be some healing around some long-standing emotional patterns that once felt like they were immovable, but now there's a little bit of breakthrough. And then also on the 24th, we're going to have Saturn move into Aries. So this is moving into your 6th house of work, health, and daily routines. Now, Saturn has about a 2.5-year transit in each house or sign. So for the next few years, you're being called to strengthen your everyday habits. Success will come through structure, through steady effort, and through your self-discipline, right? It's not going to come through some really dramatic gestures, but it'll come through this, slow, sort of steady daily commitment that you're making. And then finally on the 26th, we're going to have that new moon in Gemini, and this is opening a new chapter in terms of emotional, financial, and relational transformation for you. This new moon is perfectly synced with that Jupiter entry into your 8th house. So it's making it an incredibly potent time to set some intentions around the topics of intimacy, emotional healing, financial empowerment, possibly even some inner freedom. The Sabian symbol that we talked about in the overview for this new moon is an old-fashioned well. This is a really good image that helps to show us that the deepest resources really come from within us. Around this new moon, you're going to want to be looking at setting some intentions that really help to honor your emotional truth, even if it's a little bit scary to you. You're going to want to trust that vulnerability is that bridge to real power and to lasting change. So whatever you're releasing now, you have the power to rebuild even stronger foundations in its place. So for you, Scorpio, May is a month of some profound release. There'll be some emotional rebirth and probably setting some new standards for your life as you move forward. It's important that you trust the transformations happening. It's important that you trust that shedding that you're going through. Trust that your future self is already waiting for you, right? You're stronger, you're freer, and you're more whole than you've ever been before. And keep that in your vision. Good luck to you, Scorpio. Sagittarius and Sagittarius Rising are next. Welcome. I hope you are doing well. For you, May is a major month. It's setting the stage for some of the biggest personal but also relational growth that you've seen in quite a few years. Relationships, contracts, commitments, and the balance between independence and partnership are all the themes that are going to be coming into focus for you. Now, the universe is encouraging you to expand, but it's also asking you to choose your connections very wisely and to commit to what truly supports your next chapter. And we're going to start the month off with a Venus-Neptune conjunction on the 2nd of May. And this is happening in your 4th house, house of home, family, and emotional foundations. So early May is going to bring you some dreamy, nostalgic, and even some deeply spiritual feelings around your home and your private life. So it's a really beautiful time for some reconnecting with your family, for maybe beautifying your space. It's also a good time for healing some emotional roots. Now, it's important around this time to be very mindful of over-idealizing either home or family dynamics. Because Neptune is involved, we must have the Neptune warning. We can't wear our rose-colored glasses. We must keep ourselves rooted when things feel so dreamy. So keep that in mind. Pluto is going to station retrograde in your third house. This is the house of communication, siblings, and local environment, and that happens on the 4th of May. So over these next few months, you'll be asked to examine the way that you communicate, how you think, and how you connect with your immediate world. You'll be given some thought to, are your words and your thoughts empowering you? Are those the things that are keeping you locked in these sort of outdated patterns? This is going to be a good opportunity to rewrite that internal script and to shape your external reality the way that you see it. Around the 5th and the 6th of May, Mercury will be sextiling Jupiter and Venus will be sextiling Pluto. So these days could bring some supportive conversations around things like creative projects, around romance, or maybe your personal expression. Could also be around children. If there are some opportunities that help you to expand your voice in some way, your joy, maybe expressing your heart's desire, you're going to want to probably say yes to those opportunities around this time. Now, Mercury is going to move into Taurus on the 10th of May. So this will be spotlighting your 6th house of work, health, and daily routines. You'll find yourself thinking more practically around this time, right? How can you better support your body, your workflow, your everyday habits and routines? This is a really good time for trying to refine your systems and streamlining your schedule in some way. Now, the full moon in Scorpio happens on May 12th. So this is illuminating your 12th house of endings, healings, and spiritual growth. Full moons are bringing us some culmination and most likely some clarity. And this one is going to invite you to release emotional baggage, let go of some hidden fears, or maybe some subconscious patterns that have been sort of quietly holding you back in some way, shape, or form. You might feel a little more sensitive than usual around this time. It's important to let yourself have the rest that you need, the reflection time that you need, and to honor what your inner world is really trying to show you at this time. Even if that feels subtle or maybe it feels hard to put into words, be seeking for it. Well, the Sabian symbol for this full moon is a bunny metamorphosed into a fairy. This is a really wonderful image that helps us to understand that when you release with grace, you open the door to some magical new beginnings for yourself. Well, spiritually, this full moon is going to invite you to surrender old wounds, right? Not because you're giving up at all, but because you are ready to rise in a lighter and a more free way, right? You have to let go of your burdens, things that you can't change, things that are in the past. You know, it's time to rewrite the script on some of those. Then mid-May, we're going to have some breakthroughs for you around your 6th house topic of work, health, and habits. So the 17th, the sun is going to meet up with Uranus in your 6th house. This might look like some sudden unexpected shifts in your work schedule. You might have some unexpected shifts or changes within your health routines, or maybe the way that you approach your daily responsibilities overall. Most importantly, stay flexible. New methods or maybe some sort of surprising opportunities that come up around this time could really lead you to something greater, some sort of greater freedom and well-being. So be open to those. Now on the 18th, then Mercury is going to square Mars. This is a day where you're going to want to be cautious about overreacting to small frustrations, especially in work or health matters. And then on the 20th, the sun is going to move into Gemini, and that'll be taking your focus into your 7th house of relationships and partnerships. This is where the real story of May begins to unfold for you. Now on the 24th, we are going to have two major turning points. So the first thing is that Jupiter will be moving into Gemini. This will be activating your 7th house for the next full year. Now, this is one of the biggest relationship cycles for you. Jupiter only comes around to a house every 12 years. So over the next 12 months then, any new partnerships, collaborations, contracts, or even romantic commitments could come into your world. You might choose to get married around this time. Some of you may be signing a major business deal. You could be building some sort of long-term collaboration with a partner. Some of you might just simply be learning how to trust deeper partnerships in a more sort of expansive way. What's important here is that growth doesn't necessarily mean that you have to lose your freedom, right? We're searching for guidance related to independence, related to love. And it means that finding a partner who will help you become more of who you truly are is what you're searching for. Now, also on the 24th of May, we'll have Saturn moving into Aries. So this is going to be moving into your 5th house of creativity, romance, and self-expression. Well, Saturn has about a 2.5-year transit in each sign. So over the next few years, then you're going to be asked to take your creative talent, maybe your passions, possibly even your romantic life more seriously. Saturn is about maturity and responsibility. It's about building something lasting and strong. So this is about true love, right? True joy. It's about true self-expression, not these fleeting sort of feelings, right? Those are the things that are worth building some sort of solid foundation on, the things that come from truth. And then finally on the 26th, we'll have the new moon in Gemini, and this will be planting some seeds for you in terms of new relationships, new contracts, and new ways of connecting. Well, this new moon is nicely synced with that Jupiter arrival into your 7th house. So it's making this a really incredible, but also a potent time to set some intentions around the partnerships that you want to nurture and grow. An old-fashioned well is the Sabian symbol for this new moon. So this is helping us understand that true connection is really timeless, right? It's drawn from authentic emotional paths and depths rather than any sort of surface level appearance or show. And finally, on the 26th of May, then we'll have that new moon in Gemini. For you, we're looking at planting seeds for new relationships, new contracts, and new ways of connecting overall. Well, this new moon is nicely synced with that Jupiter arrival into your 7th house. So it's making this an incredibly potent time to set some intentions around the partnerships that you want to nurture and grow. This Sabian symbol for the new moon is an old-fashioned well. So this is reminding us that true connection is timeless. It's drawn from authentic emotional depths rather than surface appearances. You are going to be looking at setting some intentions around this new moon for relationships and collaborations that feel rooted, that feel reciprocal, that are real. And you're going to want to trust that the right people are going to meet you where you are, right? You shouldn't have to change in order to influence that in any way. So for you, Sagittarius, May is a month of clearing inner space, refining your habits in some way, and probably even opening your heart to a deeper, but also more expansive partnerships. Now, you're not trying to lose your freedom, right? That's not ending. It's evolving. So trust that the doors that open, that the people who show up, those are all part of your next adventure, and it's meant for you to share it. Good luck to you, Sagittarius. And now we have Capricorn and Capricorn Rising. Welcome. I hope you are doing well. For you, May is a powerful month of realignment. It's helping you refine your daily life, your work, your health, but also your deeper emotional foundations. So much of the action that's happening this month for you is lighting up your 6th, your 5th, and your 4th houses. So this is your routines, your joy, and your inner life. What's the theme here? Well, we're building a life that supports your ambition and your emotional well-being, not one at the expense of the other, right? We want both of those things. So we're going to start the month off on May 2nd with Venus meeting up with Neptune, which happens in your 3rd house of communication, local environment, and daily thinking. So the early part of May could bring some really beautiful conversations, some inspired ideas, maybe some creative writing opportunities your way. This is going to be a really good time to dream big, right? But make sure that you are double checking the facts if you're making any sort of important decisions. Neptune's influence can sometimes blur our clarity, right? It blurs the lines, it makes things foggy. So it's important not to be, sort of idealizing anything or anyone in any way. You have to stay grounded when Neptune's involved, and that's sort of the warning there. Now on the 4th of May, then Pluto's going to station retrograde in your 2nd house of money, self-worth, and material resources. So over the next few months, then you're going to be reviewing your relationship with money, with your possessions, and your personal value. Where you're giving away your power financially or emotionally is sort of what you're focusing on. This retrograde is going to ask you to realign that material world that you have with your evolving sense of worth. Then on the 5th and 6th of May, we'll have a couple of aspects. Mercury will be sextiling Jupiter, and Venus is going to sextile Pluto. So these days are really excellent for important conversations you need to have at work, maybe about your finances, or possibly building a stronger foundation for your future success. Now you can see support come through your family, maybe your colleagues, maybe even some unexpected new connections that come your way around this time. Then on the 10th of May, Mercury is going to move into Taurus, and this is energizing the 5th house for you. So it's creativity, romance, self-expression, it's children if you have them. You'll start thinking more about these topics of joy, passion, and the ways that you bring beauty and vitality into your life. So it's a really great time to then make some plans around your creative projects, any hobbies that you are a part of, if you are interested in dating or that's something you are partaking in. Maybe even just spending more quality time with your children. That can be a part of this transit as well. Then on May 12th, we'll have the full moon in Scorpio, and this is lighting up your 11th house of partnerships, community, and future goals. Full moons bring us some sort of culmination, some sort of clarity or revelation. So this one could really spotlight for you your social networks, the group dynamics you're involved in, and your personal dreams that you've really been working toward. You might realize around this time that a friendship, maybe a community, possibly a goal that you've really been trying to pursue no longer fits with this person that you are becoming, right? It's important to honor what it is that needs to end and to stay open to building some new alliances that will reflect your current vision. Now, the Sabian symbol for this new moon is a bunny metamorphosed into a fairy. So this is really trying to help us understand that your growth doesn't have to be heavy. It can be magical when you release old attachments gracefully, right? And we talked a little bit about magic in the last video, the new moon video for April. And part of that is changing your perspective and your understanding as well. Well, spiritually, then, this full moon would invite you to let go of alliances or to let go of dreams that no longer light your path. And I think we all sort of know what those are on a deep level when we quiet our mind and give some thought to those. And you, of course, know your life better than I do. So keep that in mind. Now, mid-May, we're going to have some breakthroughs around creativity and self-expression for you. So we'll have on the 17th of May, then the sun is going to meet up with Uranus in your 5th house. This might look like some surprising opportunities for you to participate in or express joy in some way, romance, some sort of creative risk taking. Could even be like a personal recognition that appears around some of these 5th house topics. I recommend that you stay open, right? Even if the invitation feels a little outside of your comfort zone a little bit, it could lead to something greater in terms of happiness. So I would follow that through. On the 18th of May, then we'll have Mercury square Mars. This looks like some tension, right? That could be flaring. And if for any reason you're feeling like you're blocked creatively or romantically, do your best to sort of channel that frustration into some kind of movement, right? Use that Mars energy, go for a walk, go for a run. Use your physical energy in a way that will help get that out instead of allowing it to build up, right? We want to avoid conflict around this day. On the 20th of May, then the sun is going to move into Gemini, and this is spotlighting your 6th house. So it's work, health, and daily routines. This is the energy that's really going to shift your focus over to more practical matters, right? It's your system, your body, the way that you build success in the everyday things. On the 24th, we have 2 major shifts that are happening. So the first one is Jupiter entering Gemini. And for you, it's activating the 6th house, but for the next full year. So Jupiter transits one sign about every year. So it takes about 12 years to get back to any sign. So for you, over the next 12 months, then it's your work life, your health habits, and your daily rhythms that could really expand in beautiful ways. Jupiter's always trying to bring us gifts. He's a benefic and he wants to bring benefits to us. So for some of you, this might look like you starting a new fitness routine. Others of you may find a job that really better fits with your goals. Some of us might be launching some kind of service-based project. And then some of you could also be just discovering that a daily schedule that supports a long-term growth and well-being that you're trying to grow into. And then we also have Saturn, which is your ruling planet, moving into Aries on the same day. So this is your 4th house of home, family, and emotional security. Now, over the next few years, then, Saturn has about a 2.5-year transit through any sign. You are going to be asked to fortify your foundations in some way. That could be emotionally, physically, it could be both. This could involve moving. It might look like buying a property. It could be healing some family patterns that you've recognized. It could simply be building a more authentic relationship with your inner world. What's most important is that we remember true success begins at home, right? And Saturn is here to help you build something lasting from the inside out. And finally, on the 26th of May, then we'll have that new moon in Gemini. So you are planting seeds for maybe new work, health, or daily life structures. Now, this new moon is very nicely synced with that Jupiter, which is arriving in your 6th house as well. So it's making it a really beautiful time to set some intentions around sustainable work routines, around having healthier habits. Maybe it's around daily practices that really nourish your long-term dreams in some way. The Sabian symbol for this new moon is an old-fashioned well. This is really trying to help you understand that your greatest resources are that consistent effort that you pour into yourself every day, day in and day out, right? Day after day, you're doing that. So what you're going to want to do is set some intentions that help to honor both your ambition, but also your well-being. So because you're building a life that you love, it means that you must also nurture your spirit as much as you do your success. And I think sometimes that can be difficult for Capricorns. All right, Capricorn, for you, May is about refining your systems. It's reconnecting with your inner stability. And I want you to plant some seeds for a future that's both ambitious but also sustainable. Trust that your ability to build slowly, wisely, and with your heart is the best way. You're not trying to just create some form of success here, right? You want to be creating a life that's really worth living. Next up, we have Aquarius and Aquarius Rising. Welcome, and I hope you are doing well. May is a breakthrough month for you, Aquarius. It's one that brings some expansion in creativity, romance, joy, and emotional expression. Now you're being invited to reconnect with your heart in a new way and to trust that making some space for fun, for love, and personal authenticity is just as important as chasing some kind of progress. So much of the action this month is going to be highlighting your 5th, your 4th, and your 3rd houses. These are the spaces of creativity, emotional roots, and communication. Now, the theme that you're working with here is to let your inner world really support your outer expression. And we're going to kick the month off with a Venus-Neptune conjunction on May the 2nd. And for you, this is in your 2nd house, the house of finances, self-worth, and resources. Well, early May is likely to feel very inspiring. It could also be a little bit confusing because Neptune is involved. And for you, it's going to be regarding the topics of money, income, and what you value most. What's important here is that you trust your instincts, but that you double check the fine print if you're making any kind of major financial decisions. Neptune is involved, and so it's important to have that warning that says he makes things blurry and confusing. And so it's important to stay grounded if you are making decisions around that first week of May. Now, Pluto will then station retrograde on the 4th, and this is in your 1st house. So it's the house of identity, personal power, and your life direction. So Pluto goes direct for about 6 months and then retrogrades for about 6 months. So this retrograde is a point of reflection time for all of us. And over the next few months, then you're going to be reflecting on how you express your authority, your authenticity, and your ability to direct your own life. Things that you'll be thinking about are, am I standing in my power, right? Or are you still sort of carrying some kind of outdated role that really no longer fits you anymore, right? Things that you're clinging on to because of comfort. Now, around the 5th and 6th of May, we'll have a couple of aspects. First is Mercury will sextile Jupiter, and then Venus will also sextile Pluto. Now, these are really great days for having some heart-centered conversations if you need to. It's also a good time for healing some relationship dynamics if that's a need of yours. You could also be just seeding some sort of new creative ideas as well, right? A bold idea or some sort of heartfelt conversation could really help to open up the door for, a beautiful new era. Mercury is going to move into Taurus on the 10th of May. So this is going to be lighting up your 4th house of home, family, and emotional foundations. Well, this is going to take your attention and shift it towards stabilizing your personal life. So this is like, where do you live? How do you feel when you're at home? Who do you feel safe with? Those kinds of topics are going to be coming up for you. Then we're going to have that full moon in Scorpio on May 12th. So this is illuminating your 10th house of career, reputation, and life direction. Full moons always bring us some kind of culmination, clarity, revelation. And this one could be spotlighting a major career project for you. Could be a leadership role, could also be some kind of a public achievement that's now reaching a turning point on some level. You might also feel the emotional weight of career pressures more intensely around this time. And it's definitely okay to admit where you're tired, if you will, right? And to really realign your public goals with your personal truths if that's how you feel. The Sabian symbol for this full moon is a bunny metamorphosed into a fairy. So this visual image kind of helps us to remember that success isn't about becoming someone else, right? It's about evolving into your most authentic and I would say magical self. Now, on a spiritual level, this full moon would invite you to let go of outdated ambitions and to allow new but also truer goals to emerge for you. When we get to mid-month, then this will bring some personal but also some emotional breakthroughs for you. So the first thing we have is May 17th, the sun is going to meet up with Uranus in your 4th house. This might look like changes at home. Could be moving, it could be remodeling, it could be shifts in your family dynamics. It could also be some kind of sudden emotional insight that you have. All of these things, or some of them, could be arising for you now. Now, even if there's a surprising element to whatever is coming up, these shifts are really helping you to build a life that feels freer and more authentic. So don't be afraid of it. Try to lean into it best you can. On the 18th of May, Mercury is going to square Mars. What's most important on this day, circle it on your calendar, is to be mindful of sharp words, of defensive communication, especially when it comes to your family members and your close loved ones. That's going to be sort of the sore spot for you. And then on the 20th of May, the sun is going to move into Gemini, and this is lighting up your 5th house, which is creativity, romance, fun, and self-expression. This energy really helps to brighten and helps you become more playful. So it's going to be calling you back to whatever your joy is, and I would say definitely engage in that. When we get to the 24th of the month, we have a couple of major shifts happening. First one is that Jupiter is going to move into Gemini. This is again activating your 5th house, and it's for the next full year. So Jupiter transits one sign for about 12 months. It takes about 12 years to get back to the same place. This is one of the sort of most joyful but also expansive cycles that you are going to experience for this year, because it's a year for sort of rekindling that creativity that you have, for your desire for romance or fun and self-confidence for sure. This could be a time when you fall in love, right? You might launch some kind of a creative project. You could also just rediscover that there's a hobby that you loved or that you forgot about and you want to get back to. It could also just be simply experiencing more moments of genuine joy than you have in the last few years. So lean into that too. And then second, we have Saturn moving into Aries. This is your 3rd house of communication, learning, and mindset. Now, Saturn has about a 2.5-year transit. And he's about a 30-year before he comes back to the same spot. So over the next few years, Saturn here is going to be asking you to refine how it is that you express yourself, how you gather but also share information, and also how you structure your learning and your thinking style. Right? Real mastery really comes from a sense of clarity and focus. It's not just about, soaking up input, if you will. And then finally on the 26th, then we get to the new moon in Gemini. And here you are planting seeds for new beginnings around joy, romance, and creative expression. This new moon is nicely synced with that Jupiter arrival into your 5th house. So it's making it one of the most expansive but also opportunistic new moons that you're going to have for this year. The Sabian symbol that's attached to this new moon is an old-fashioned well. That image is helping you to understand that true joy really flows from a timeless inner source within you, right? You don't get it externally. And then, of course, at this new moon, you would want to set intentions that really help to call back your joy, your heart, right? What's in your heart. It could be laughter, it could be love, it could be some sort of creative courage that you are delving into. But most importantly, just trust that whatever lights you up now can also light the way forward for you. All right, so for you, Aquarius, May is about reconnecting with your joy. It wants you to trust your voice and to build a life that feels as true inside as it looks on the outside. Your heart's intelligence is just as important as your mind's brilliance. So remember that. You should trust your joy. You should trust your breakthroughs that come. You should trust that you're building a future that feels as good as it looks. And that's important. Good luck to you. Last but never least, we have Pisces and Pisces Rising. Welcome. Thank you for waiting and watching. Hope you are doing well. For you, May is a deeply personal month. It's one that invites you to reconnect with your emotional foundations. It wants you to redefine your sense of home and belonging, and also trust that steady rebuilding that's happening from the inside out with you. Now, much of the energy that moves through this month is in your 4th, your 3rd, and your 2nd house. These are the areas of life that are tied to your roots, your voice, and your resources. So the theme that you're working with here is really rebuilding from the ground up, right? But stronger, clearer, and more aligned with who it is that you're becoming. And we're going to kick the month off with this Venus-Neptune conjunction on May 2nd. Neptune, one of your ruling planets, it's in your 1st house of identity and self-expression. Now, this is going to bring a dreamy but also a beautiful energy around your personal image, your self-confidence, and that inner radiance. You might feel especially connected to your spiritual self in some way, or you might need a little bit extra grounding to help avoid sort of drifting off into fantasy, because this is a really beautiful energy, best used for creativity in some way, for your imagination, for sort of dreaming big. Neptune blurs the lines for us a little bit. He makes it unclear, and we're not always certain. So stay grounded as best you can. It's a really wonderful time for creative projects, for personal reinvention, and for self-compassion, right? Focus on you. Don't have any rose-colored glasses. Then Pluto is going to station retrograde in your 12th house on the 4th. And this is the house of the subconscious, of healing and spiritual growth. Over the next few months. So first of all, Pluto goes forward for about 6 months, and then he retrogrades for about 6 months. So over these next few months for you, you'll be revisiting your deeper sort of inner patterns, right? You're unearthing some old fears maybe. Some of you could be letting go of some hidden burdens. Some of you could be preparing to sort of step into a more freer but powerful version of yourself in some way. Now on the 5th and the 6th, then we'll have a couple of important aspects. We have Mercury sextiling Jupiter, but then Venus is also sextiling Pluto. These are really excellent days for some heartfelt conversations if you need to have them, for taking a deep dive into some financial planning if you need to. Could also be a good time for clearing the air around the home in terms of family matters that need to be dealt with. Then Mercury is going to move into Taurus on the 10th, and this is highlighting your 3rd house of communication, of learning in your local environment. So this is where your mind sharpens a bit, right? Your curiosity is going to grow, and it's a really great time to do some studying, some writing, to share your ideas. But it's also a good time to strengthen the bonds with your siblings and or your neighbors. On the 12th of May, we'll have that full moon in Scorpio. This is lighting up your 9th house of belief systems, education, and travel. Full moons do always bring us some kind of culmination, some kind of revelation. They want us to have clarity. And this one could be spotlighting a shift for you in terms of your worldview. It could be related to a learning journey, right? That's sort of reaching completion at this time. Maybe it's if you are in college or university, that could be happening. There's also like a spiritual and a philosophical realization about changes related to your path that could be happening around this time too. You might feel like you're being stretched between wanting to stay safe and in the known, but also longing to sort of leap into something that's completely unknown as well. So trust your soul knows which dreams are really ready to grow wings and take flight, right? You know your life better than the rest of us. The Sabian symbol for this full moon is a bunny metamorphosed into a fairy. And this is a kind of visual reminder for us that true expansion really happens when you honor your softer instincts and you trust in that inner magic that you have. Now, on a spiritual level, then this full moon would be inviting you to believe more deeply in your own becoming, right? That's important. You have to be able to see that vision of yourself, but also believe it in your heart. Then mid-May, we're going to have some breakthroughs. For you, it's around home and emotional security. On the 17th of May, the sun is going to meet up with Uranus in your third house. So this could look like some sudden changes around communication, around your learning, within your local environment. Could also be some changes related to your family dynamics that arise around this time. Do your best to stay flexible. Any sort of unexpected conversations or maybe opportunities that arise at this time could really lead to some meaningful but also emotional breakthroughs going forward. On the 18th, Mercury is going to square Mars, so be very cautious about impulsive words on this day. That's a little bit spicy. And for you, it's especially important in terms of your family or your community matters, right? Your local environment. And then the sun is going to move into Gemini on the 20th. So this is lighting up your fourth house of home, family, and emotional roots. Here you're going to be focused more inward, right? You're really being asked to nurture your physical home and also your emotional sanctuary. On the 24th, then, we'll have a couple of big changes. The first being that Jupiter is going to move into Gemini. For you, it's activating the fourth house, and it's going to be there for the next full year. Jupiter transits a sign about one sign every year, and so it takes about 12 years to come back to the same spot. So you haven't seen Jupiter here for 12 years. And what this means is that over the next 12 months, you'll be growing your emotional foundations in some way. You're going to be expanding your living space somehow. You might also be trying to heal some family dynamics, but in a really beautiful and supportive way. This could look like you moving. Some of you might be redecorating. You could be buying property. Some of you might be welcoming some new family members in. You could also just be creating a stronger emotional root system, one that is built on, healing those old wounds that you have. And then also on the 24th, we're going to have Saturn move into Aries. This is your second house of finances, resources, and self-worth. Saturn has about a 2.5-year transit per sign, and he is about 20, 30 years before he gets back to the same place. So this is, you haven't seen Saturn here for about 29, 30 years, and you have about 3 years to work on this house that he's in. So over the next few years, you're going to be called to build some greater financial stability for yourself, right? Not through fear of not having, but through some kind of clarity, right? Some self-trust and a patient sort of investment in your own worth. You're learning the value of yourself really sets the tone for every other kind of abundance in your life. And that's important, how you value yourself. And then finally on the 26th will be that new moon in Gemini. And for you, it's planting seeds for new emotional and physical foundations. This new moon is nicely timed with that Jupiter arrival to your fourth house. So it makes it a really good time to set some intentions around your home, your family, your security, your emotional nourishment. The Sabian symbol for this new moon is an old-fashioned well. And it's really helping us to kind of get the visual here that emotional security really flows from deep but also timeless sources within you. So this is a good new moon for you to set some intentions that honor your right to feel safe, to feel nurtured, and to feel rooted in something solid, right? In yourself, in your space, and in your dreams. So trust that the home that you're building right now, both on the inside and the out, will sustain this next chapter of growth for you. All right, May for you, Pisces, is a month of emotional renewal, It's a homecoming of sorts and really setting some stronger roots for everything that you are becoming. Trust your instincts, trust that healing that you've been going through, and trust that the next chapter of your life begins exactly where you are right now, right? With heart, with hope, and with courage. Best of luck to you, Pisces.